Hello, class. Hello. So, as you're getting settled in, I want you to go ahead and start working on the warm up, okay? So, it says list opposite operations. So, think of opposite operations. We've been solving one step equations. So, like addition, what is the opposite of addition? And so on, okay? After you list those opposite operations, then you're going to go ahead and move on to the next part that says, how would you find the value of x for the following? So I'm not asking you to solve for x. I'm not asking you to give me the answer for x. I want you to tell me how would you solve it? What would be the step that you would take to get that answer? Okay, class, so today our agenda, if you look at our agenda, we'll see that we have already completed number one, which was the warm up. Number two is the LT. We know that's the learning target. So I'm going to go over our learning target. We are moving into a new learning target today. So I will explain our learning targets to you so that you know what is expected of you. Okay. Um, and then number three, I do. You know that whenever we're learning something new, I always want to demonstrate to you first. Then you will get a chance. Then we will do together. So then I will give you an example, give you a chance to try it on your own before we come back and do it together. And then you do. So then you will be given some activities that you will go off and you'll do them on your own. Okay? So first, let's look at our learning target. So our learning target says students will be able to identify. Look at that word identify. Okay? It is in red because it is important. Okay? So students will be able to identify steps for solving two-step equations. So when we say that word identify, think about here where it asked you just to give the step. How would you solve it? So you identified how to solve it. Here you said minus 10 from both sides. That was you identifying. Okay. Our next learning target, students will be able to apply steps for solving two-step equations. So then from there, first you will be able to identify the step, and then you will actually use the step to solve. So in this case, I didn't ask you to actually solve, but what I would like for you to do is after you identify that step minus 10 from both sides, then you would actually do that. Subtract 10, subtract 10, our 10s cancel out, and then you'll find your answer. Okay, so we want to be able to identify our steps, and then we want to be able to apply our steps. Okay, so first. Let's start with a two-step equation. What is a two-step equation? We're going to start with 4x minus 3 equals 17. Okay, so a two-step equation is exactly what it sounds like. It means it's going to take us two steps to solve it, okay? If we look back at our warm-up, here, x minus 2 equals 4. It only takes us one step to solve that, right? Add 2. Add 2 to both sides and we will get our answer. However, in two-step equations, it's going to take us two steps to solve. If you notice here, we have two operations, right? Here we have 4x, and here we have minus 3. Okay? 4x, what does that mean? What does that mean? Good, multiplication. This means 4 multiply x, right? And then minus 3. So we have multiplication here and we have subtraction here. Things to always remember when solving two-step equations. Number one, always start with the addition and subtraction. So we always want to start with the addition and subtraction first. Number two, always complete opposite operations on both sides. Okay? So we know that from solving one-step equations that whatever you do to one side, you must also do to the other side. Okay? Number three, always divide or multiply last. Okay? So we're going to add or subtract first, multiply or divide last. So let's look at that. So what I want us to do first is identify, okay? So in this case, we are going to simply identify the steps to take. So number one, always start with addition and subtraction. So we have subtraction here. In order to undo that subtraction, what must we do? Opposite operation, right? So we're going to add. So let's add 3. And we're not just going to say add 3. We must add 3 to both sides. Add 3 to both sides. Okay? And then number 2. Number 2, after we add that 3, now we still have that multiply, right? Two-step equations, we're going to take 2 steps. So our second step is going to be to undo that 4x. We're multiplying here, so opposite would be to divide. So we're going to divide 4 by both sides, okay? So now let's do that. We were able to identify our steps. Now let's apply those steps, okay? So plus 3, and remember, whatever we do to one side, we must also do to the other side. So plus 3 there. Remember, our 3's cancel out. So now we have, let's write this here. So now we have 4x 17 plus 3 is going to give us a 20, okay? So we have that 4x left over. So we just bring that down. Our 3's cancel out. We add on that side. Step 2, divide both sides by 4. So let's do that. Divide both sides by 4. Okay, our 4's cancel out, and we are left with, I'm going to write it over here, x equals 20 divided by 4 is going to give us a 5. Now we have our answer. Those are 2 steps, okay? Now, what are the 2 steps that we would do, okay? Think about that on your own. So I'll give the students a chance to think about that, and then we will come together, do it together. So remember, our 2 operations are dividing here, adding here. So to do the opposite of that, we are going to first, remember, we always start with addition and subtraction. So we're going to subtract 2 on both sides, okay? We'll put that both sides like that so we know. And then number 2, okay, step 2, we're going to undo that x over 9, and we know that's division, right? So to undo that division, we're going to multiply. So let's say multiply, we'll write it like that, multiply 9 on both sides, okay? So go ahead and you try. So I'll give the students a chance to try on their own, and then I'll come back and do it together. So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides, okay? And then you're left with x over 9. Our 2's cancel out. 5 minus 2 is going to give us 3, okay? And our step 2 was to multiply both sides by 9. So let's multiply by 9, multiply by 9. Our 9's cancel out. So then we are left with x equals 27. Okay. Now you do. So we're going to move into our activities. Okay, and now for our assignment. So this is the you do section, okay? So as you can see, you have 6 assignments here, but you will not do 6 assignments. So you're going to be placed into breakout rooms, and each breakout room is given a set of 3 assignments to complete, okay? So as we can see, your breakout rooms are arranged in color groups, okay? So red group, you're going to do assignment number 4, number 5, number 6. Blue group, number 4, number 3, and number 6. Green group, number 1, number 4, and number 6. orange group, number 1, number 2, and number 6, and yellow group, number 1, number 2, and number 6. Okay, now this document, I would have it somewhere for the students, maybe on Google Classroom, or maybe I would send it to them, just because I want them to be able to easily click on the links to get to exactly where the assignment is located. Um, I would spend a lot of my time. I will jump from the breakout rooms, but I will spend a lot of my time in the yellow group just to make sure that they do understand and these sorts of things. So I would spend a lot of my time in the yellow group. And now for the assignments. So the first assignment is, so this is assignment number 1. And number 1 is a video. So if we go back to that document, we will see that assignment number 1 is a Nearpod video lesson. And so what the students will do is they would watch this video, and as the video goes through, they would answer questions throughout. So all of these dots here, it pauses the video for them, and it has a question for them to answer. So this is a way for me to check for understanding. As they are working on this simultaneously, I can be watching to see what their answers are. Now for assignment 2 is a quizzes lesson. And so for the quizzes lesson, it takes them through a lesson, and it pretty much goes through our learning targets, where we talked about identifying and applying. So in these first parts, it takes them back to one-step equations, where they have to identify if they're going to add or subtract and so on, and then it walks them through two-step equations. For assignment number 3 is a Nearpod matching activity. So in this activity, they are matching steps with the appropriate equation. So multiply each side by 8. So it says match each set of equations with the move that took the first equation to the second step. So they have the first equation, then they have the second step. Now, whenever they go to answer, it will let them know if they are correct or not. So for example, if I click here and here, it's not correct, so I cannot move on. Here and here, it's not correct, I cannot move on, and so on. So that is kind of their own way of checking for understanding as they are working themselves. Assignment number 4 is a quizzes lesson. So this is another quizzes lesson. And in this quizzes lesson, it takes them through like a video. They get to watch a video. It goes through, it reminds them how to solve two-step equations, and they also throw in some negatives in there. And then it takes them through identifying, and then they eventually get to actually solving. Now, that's 4. So now lesson 5 is a Khan Academy assignment. So this is going to be a video. First is going to show them a video, a reminder of how to solve two-step equations, and then is going to take them to some practice problems. Now, students will do 7 of 18 questions. So there's a total, these are the 18 questions, but whenever it's given to them, it will choose 7 questions to actually supply them with. And then the last assignment, which all of the students will do assignment number 6, which is the exit ticket. And so that last assignment is a forms activity where they go through, and this is their exit ticket. This is a way for me to see how well that they understand. And so here they're going to identify the steps, and then they're actually going to solve. And those are the activities. For all of these activities, as they are working, I can see who's logged in. I can see what they're actually answering. I can see all of that. So as they are working, if I see any mistakes that they are making, I can jump into that breakout room and I can talk to those students, give them a little refresher, those sorts of things. Also, the timer. This timer, I would change it to like 15 minutes because that's the highest it can go. I don't see students spending more than 15 minutes on each question, but that's what I would change it to. And there we are. Those are the
activities.